As you would imagine, where something is free, there will be a lot of eyeballs. Where you have to pay for something on the internet, the amount of traffic there diminishes significantly. So, but that was a conscious move on their part, and they wanted to do that. So, but anyway, it does show sort of about the where people are and the effect of what people will pay for, certainly online. And so on Twitter, it's free, and Facebook is free. And what's interesting about Twitter in particular to me is that there are a lot of opinion shapers there, a lot of in the wine world, and it is fast moving and difficult to follow sometimes, but it is very fun, and whether it has any influence, I suppose, is still an open question, and one that we can come back to in a second. So yeah, continuing the discussion about the younger drinkers of today. Where do they get their wine recommendations from? Well, it's mostly friends and online friends too, and so that bears definitely on the social media aspect, the online friends, whether that's Blogger or someone else on Facebook or Twitter, but then also from store clerks. And so what's notably absent from here is traditional magazines, newspapers, newsletters, or critics. So they do figure into the equation, but further down. So anyway, that's an interesting shift with younger consumers. And so, does this matter? Does it make any difference? Or in the internet parlance, is there any thunder? This is an expression by Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a successful wine retailer who has a video show that you may have seen at Wine Library TV, and he has a book entitled 101 Wines That Will Bring Thunder to Your Table. And so, is anyone bringing thunder in the internet world? Well, actually, Stephen Tanzer had an interesting observation in an article I read 18 months or so ago on the subject, and he said that it was harder to get his word out now, that there was more noise to cut through. And so whether that is merely noise or whether it is actually the message is certainly an open question, depends on your perspective. But yeah, so it is hard to trace sales to say, well, if someone tweets about something or anything, is that going to lead to any sales? And I don't pretend to have the answer to that, and I don't. In a lot of ways, I don't really care. I mean, given my perspective, I'm an independent writer, and so I'm not here to sell wine. But you may have a different perspective on that, and so it is but it is still an open question. That's for sure. Oh, I didn't read the caption here on my cartoon for you. Sorry. I have a New Yorker cartoon here with two dogs, and in case you can't read it, the one dog's talking to the other, as dogs often do, and it says, "I had my own blog for a while, but I decided to go back to just pointless, incessant barking." So yeah, but yeah, I do think that social media, though, that there are a lot of enthusiasts of social media who perhaps are trying to sell you a social media package, and they may tell you that it's the be-all and the end-all. But for me, I think that it is important. I think that it is one leg of the stool of your whether that it's sort of a straw that stirs the drink in a way, and it's that drink for you may be selling wine. For me, I'm an author, and so it helps me sell books, and so for Gary Vaynerchuk, he sells wine, and it helps him move the cases of his wine through his wine store. So it's a very useful tool. More and more people are going online. It's not going to stop anytime soon. So in that perspective, it's best to just join the fray and embrace it. And here, I thought I'd just conclude with an example of one winery that is doing it. There are certainly several. I like Jason Haas's blog at Tablas Creek. He writes an interesting blog about some of the business decisions, and it's really opened up, given people a look under the hood in a way of running a winery. But I thought I'd focus on a Petite Sirah grower who happens to be here today. Yes, it's Jeff Stye from Twisted Oak. I didn't even know he was going to be here. But yeah, Jeff has told me, and he can elaborate more himself since he's here, that his blog has helped him gain greater recognition because he is in an off-the-beaten-path area in Calaveras County, and he is using off-the-beaten-path grape varieties such as Mourvèdre and some other ones that may start with Petite and end with Syrah. And so yeah, but it took a little while, but now he has greater renown, and when he goes to tastings, he says that he has much more recognition. He's able to get more people to attend annual or events at the winery and things as a result of this online presence. So yeah, it's and as he told me when we spoke about it on the phone, he said that it was actually, he'd spent a lot of time. I asked him about the time commitment and how was his return on investment of his time, and he said that, well, yes, he had spent a lot of time in it, and time that he could have been watching TV. So there you go. Choose which way, how you want to spend your day. But yeah, and so yeah, Jeff comports himself very well online, and he always enters the discussion whenever people are talking about his wines. And so I think that he's interesting case to bring up. And so I think it also brings up the point that you have to be honest and funny. And a straight shooter, as he said, that people want a voice they can relate to, and I think that he does that very well. So anyway, I just have some final tips for you in case you wanted to join the fray, the discussion here. But I do think that being honest and upfront is an important thing to do in the online discussion as you enter it, and so. But also talking about useful things and bringing up useful posts. I mean, it can be posts and points. It can be definitely some fun, some levity, like bring your rubber chicken to work day. But it is, I think, also important to get some serious points across from time to time, too. But yeah, and then also produce content regularly is a good thing. From Google's perspective, they like to see regular content for your site's ranking in their eyes, but also for the users to maintain interest from the user. So, and most importantly, just have fun. If at least you're trying to set the bar at having a good time, then it's difficult to be disappointed then. So yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to provide a few some fodder for discussion, because now we're going to open the floor up to Q&A. So definitely welcome any questions from you. Clark has a question.
This will work. Well, the first thing that struck me about your first three examples was that they had absolutely nothing to do with the merits of the product, and I wonder if you thought there was any place for that on the net.
Well, I do think there's place for that. Yeah, definitely. And again, I, as a writer, am more interested in the merits of the product. But I was trying to think about from a marketer's perspective, and so I thought those were interesting examples of how it can be done, whether you talk about the merits of the product or not.
Yeah. So you're saying basically catch their attention, and then maybe you can slip in a little product differentiation on the side when they're not looking?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's whether you're doing it as a group entity like P.S. I Love You or individual brand, probably going to have a little bit of a different approach, you know. But there's obviously work that could be done at either level for a group or an organization. And if it's just, I mean, if it's just for a specific company, a specific brand or something, then yeah, it could be, you could talk about the quality more. But if you make jokes about riding a horse, you know, then that also works too, apparently.
My experience has been, and the best advice I ever got about social media is share, not sell. So share information, don't always be selling product, but that doesn't mean, Clark, that you can't talk about the merits of the product. So there's something out there and they're talking about beef, and you want to talk about great pairing, Petite Sirah, and specifically tonight I'm having. That's what gained me followers and interaction. So those little words, share, not sell, best advice I've ever gotten.
Yeah, I think that ties into this question, the discussion about the millennials, and I think that younger consumers are a little bit more skeptical, maybe cynical, and so a little bit less susceptible to a hard sell. And so maybe these things have been successful in a way because they're not a hard sell, talking about quality of the product necessarily, but something sort of related. So.
Thank you.
Going back to original questions, I find a fascinating question being from Oregon, talking about Petite Sirah being an Pinot Noir. I got so fed up with Pinot Noir, I stopped making it 4 years ago.
Oh, you wrote your own breakup letter 4 years ago, huh? Yeah.
But I see some very interesting things in Oregon. I don't know how widespread it is. 6 years ago, I went to the Portland market and I did not have Pinot Noir before. They didn't want to talk to me. Today, if I go on to the Portland market and I talk about Pinot, their eyes almost fall out of their head. I don't mention anything but Pinot Noir. They want to talk to me. Further, this April, the big contest in Oregon, the Astoria Wine and Seafood Festival, it's about 15,000 people go to this event over 3 days. For the first time ever, a Petite Sirah has to show there rather than Pinot Noir. Happened to be mine, which was kind of nice. But you raised the question here, can Petite Sirah become the next Pinot? Well, we kind of didn't even talk about an answer on that. How we position Petite Sirah to step into that gap. There seems to be a spot where people are looking for a new variety, new something to play with. We tried to take the tack to challenge people a little bit and make them think about it. The younger people seem to respond better. That is, are you tall enough to ride this ride? You know, you're tired of the light of Pinot Noir? Did you get a white shirt on? You can't try this. We can put on one of our labels, not for the timid. You know, try and play up the angle of Petite Sirah. Not working. Hello. Petite Sirah, different choice. Much bigger wine that you can pair with a lot of different things. So is there a way that we can do something for the variety itself, try and step into what I see as a little bit of a gap for me?
No, I think there is a gap. Yeah, I do think that the flavor profile is so radically different. You're not going to have a Miles character talking about the finicky grape, Petite Sirah, the thin-skinned and grape, and so it's. I mean, for me, there's almost no other grape variety that makes me feel like a pencil neck East Coast wine writer, you know, than Petite Sirah, which really can come at you and with a whole lot of flavor and tannin, but as well as some interesting aromatic perspective. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that it is such a full-bodied grape when varietally labeled that it is looking for a different consumer than the one who is seeking out Pinot Noir. And so the question is, I guess, what type of consumer that is, and is it a male consumer? I mean, to just talk about some demographic categories, and if so, does the Old Spice approach work? I don't know. Can you do something like that? I mean, obviously, you can't copy someone else's campaign, because that would just be, first time funny, second time not so funny. So, but anyway, it's something to think about, who that consumer is, and I don't have that answer for you. But once you work that out, then think about how to maybe approach that consumer with the best way, whether that's whether it's on a message level or a medium level, like Facebook and social media and so on. Yep. One last question? All right.
Yeah. There it is. Where we are now. So from my wine's standpoint, I find that maybe 10 to 20% of the people standing across our tasting room are really looking for nuance in the wine, really identify subtones and complexities. And more people are looking for sort of the big bang sort of wine.
Interesting.
And I would support that phenomenally big high alcohol wines. Certainly oaky, buttery Chardonnays. So I'm seeing that happen. And I encourage, and I'd like to perhaps comment on that when it's necessary. That's my observation. So I think that's why the team has come into its own, people who are aware of it. And they're also moving. Natural progression. They move along, and so that's my observation.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So you're saying the market space for Pinot Noir is relatively small, and for a wine of this flavor profile is much larger, you're saying. So.
I say that that people are looking for wines because they're looking for bigger wines, they're looking for more wines. They're not looking for complexities and nuances of wine. We make a Petite, we also make a Concannon. Concannon is very subtle, and that's actually happening. And just use those other wines that we made as well. And the people responded because Petite Sirah itself really well. And I attribute it to being good, but I think it's also people they like something that they can identify quickly.
Instant gratification.
Maybe that's it. It's real simple and straight, and there it is, right in front of them, and they see it.
Interesting, very interesting. And of course, once you cultivate this relationship with the consumer, the end consumer, then you can make a direct sale, as you're doing in your tasting room too, which of course has a much higher margin than selling through the three-tier system. So that's certainly another aspect of it too. So.
Thank you, Tyler. I also wanted to mention that Tyler's going to be around all day, so if you have any more questions, please feel free to come up and talk to him. I think we had some great discussions there. We're going to go ahead and take a 15-minute break at this point, and we'll resume back here and continue on the second session.